Hey, hey, hey. Happy Wednesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Brought to you by, shockingly enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Wednesday, April 30th, 2025. This is live stream 1182. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just hang out talking about the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I will normally take a first look at a game. I might be paging through a role-playing game book or maybe unboxing a board game, and every once in a while, I might actually tackle a topic related to our hobby. But tonight, we are going to dive on in and take a peek at the latest in the Cults of RuneQuest series, Gods of Fire and Sky, from our friends over at Chaosium Inc. Yes, we will be diving on in, taking a peek at this in just a bit. Do want to mention, if you are tuning in for the live first look, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first, and then there's usually some random musings. We have a brief intermission. So it's probably going to be about 35, maybe 40 minutes before we get to that first look. So if you're tuning in live, kick back, relax, enjoy yourself. I'm sure, your week's already busy and hectic. It is hump day, thank goodness. So like I said, just relax. We'll get to it. Now, of course, if you happen to be watching this episode on Memorex, there are timestamps. So those are in the show notes, as well as, well, depending on the device you're watching this on, in the timeline. So if you want to just jump past the news, feel free. You certainly can. Just click on the appropriate link or area of the timeline on the video. Now, of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, if you'd like to support the Gaming Gang, we do have a Patreon. That link is also in the show notes, as is our invite link to our Discord server, so you can hang with the gang there. And there are actually some secret channels that are for our Patreon members only, depending on your tier of support. Now, I also want to point out, because this is a live show, there is chat available. It's not on screen. It's one of the ways I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 10 minutes. I know, practically a lifetime these days, in order to take part in chat. Yet another way I keep some of those more unusual commenters at bay. But if you happen to check that box and you want to say howdy, maybe get a question, a comment, by all means, chime in, fire away. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Testy Trekkie. W. Forge is also with us, as is Sean O'Donnell, Robert Santon, and Robert Reynolds. I think Robert Reynolds might be a first-time visitor with us in chat. So welcome aboard. For some reason, the name's not ringing a bell. I do see Semper Buffo is also with us. So welcome, everyone. Tessie Trekkie says they are here with their spider bro Bruce up in the corner of their home office. He's a small huntsman spider, only 2 to 3 inches across. Thank you, Bruce, for keeping me safe. Well, you know, this is the kingdom of spiders here. Isn't currently, and I have been using some mint oil to help keep them at bay because I don't want to kill them. just don't want them interrupting me and landing on my hand and coming down in front of me or in front of the camera. We have had plenty of live shows where all of a sudden there's like this little blob coming down because it's a spider up close to the camera lens. So you know how that works. So hello to Bruce the Spider then. Shadow Dowdle says, as we all know, Jeff loves him some cults. Well, Cults of RuneQuest, at least. And yes, I guess Robert is joining us for the first time, so make yourself comfortable. And I also take a guess that maybe the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D is also lurking in the shadows. She is one of our chat moderators. She's the one who carries the glittery ban hammer. So if you get banned, you'll never get that glitter out. Pete Stracklich, as well as Abfo, are also joining us. I believe Abfo is also a first-time visitor with us in chat. Howdy. All right, let's jump on into the news because there is a deluxe edition of the Liminal Horror role-playing game, which is currently up for crowdfunding for Space Penguin Inc. And this is what I know. There's a strange comfort to ambiguity, to stand at the threshold between states of what was and what's next, to inhabit the places of transition. But you're never truly alone here. There are things that hunger within the dark places. Strange creatures and mysteries lie in wait, and tumbling into the wrong place at the wrong time may put you on the path towards doom. Grab your flashlights and blood-splattered jackets. Can I wear a clean jacket? As you try to make it through the night, beware, snapping bone and rending flesh are often the simplest outcome. While there may be great power within these places, not all mysteries can be solved, and not everyone can be saved. Above all, there are fates far worse than death. Liminal Horror is a rules-light, adaptable survival horror role-playing game about normal characters and their struggles against the things that go bump in the night. The game focuses on surviving the weird and investigating horrors while blending simple, old-school inspired rules with modern narrative-first principles. Survival is not guaranteed, and those who do make it through the night are often forever changed. This deluxe edition is a revised, enhanced, and expanded core rulebook for Liminal Horror. It includes all new player options, a robust toolkit for facilitators, a catalog of factions, cults, horrors, and artifacts, a fully detailed setting guide, and optional rules, lore, advice, and references in a fully illustrated 350-plus page hardcover book. It's also fully backwards compatible with all previously released Liminal Horror rules and adventures. So whether you're a diehard fan or just now joining the party, this book is designed to be everything you need to run any subgenre of modern horror at your table. The Backer Kit project is fully funded. I believe this is past the 400% mark. You can reserve a copy of the hardcover with PDF for a $60 pledge, or if you just want to reserve the PDF, you can do so for a $20 pledge through May 15th. The PDFs are expected in July, and the physical books should follow in late 2025 or early 2026. I got to say, I do not know really anything about Liminal Horror outside of good things. So I don't know what system it uses. I don't know what kind of mechanics it brings about. But I have heard that Liminal Horror is one of the more popular horror role-playing games out there, and I have seen some adventures that have been released for, say, like Call of Cthulhu from third-party companies now have Liminal Horror editions. So there is that. I'm kind of curious. Strangely enough, I don't really have a relationship with Space Penguin Inc. outside of simply they follow me on X and I follow them on X, and I share news pieces from time to time. I'm trying to remember if I've even reached out to them to maybe start looking at some of their stuff, because Space Penguin Inc. is along the lines of Exalted Funeral as far as a publisher out there. So kind of cool. Kind of cool. And this could be really interesting. Moving on to our next news piece. Well, actually, before we do that, Sarah D is with us saying howdy, and spelling my take is what I'm taking a guess at, as the nickname there is joining us. Might also be another first timer in chat, because once again, that nickname isn't jumping on in. So Tessie Trekkie says, huntsman spiders are friendly in the sense that they eat all the other venomous spiders that Australia is infamous in the US for being filled with. A huntsman means a no redback spiders around. Would that also mean that you wouldn't have any brown recluses? Thankfully, we don't have to deal with brown recluses, at least in the Chicagoland area or the far Chicago suburbs, as Sarah D will attest to. But when I lived out in Arizona, boy, you needed to watch out. And a friend of mine, her friend got bit, and you were like, yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. And then the next morning, they woke up and it was like their leg was rotting. Had to go to the hospital. They nearly died, and they actually had to cut a chunk of his leg off, like into the meat, into the bone, down to the bone. And I saw a couple of pictures. I was like, holy shit. So I did run across a couple of brown recluses in my adventuring in Arizona. And we found one. It was a game night at my buddy Louie's house. And we went outside to have a cigarette because I smoked at that time. And so did he, actually. And we glanced up, and there was a brown recluse up like in the awning. And we chased that son of a bitch, killed it to make sure it didn't get in the house. And he had dogs and stuff like that. So Sarah D says, I usually relocate spiders. Brown recluse, I'd burn everything down. Thankfully, none there. Yeah, that is very true. All right, moving along. Crank up the Jan Hammer, because following a successful crowdfunding run, Miami 86 is making its way into stores from Archmage Arispen. Arispen? Let's say Arispen. And here's the skinny. The year is 1986. You and your friends are fresh faces on the electrifying streets of Miami, a city pulsing with danger and opportunity. Your dreams are as bold as the neon lights, but the path to the top is paved with peril. In this high-stakes game, you'll navigate a world of ruthless kingpins and cutthroat deals, where every decision could make you a legend or a casualty. It's time to rise, take your shot, and either seize the throne or fall in the attempt. The city is yours to conquer. Got the Crockett's theme running through your head right now? Miami 86 is a rules-light, action-packed role-playing game designed for 2 to 6 players or more, with solo play options. Immerse yourself in the quintessential 1980s Miami ambiance, inspired by iconic classics like the film Scarface, a TV series Miami Vice, and the video game Grand Theft Auto Vice City. All of those absolute classics. The game emphasizes minimal rules and fast-paced action, featuring a core mechanic reminiscent of Into the Odd and Cairn. Character generation is quick and random, allowing you to dive straight into the action. For game masters, there are tools that randomly generate adventures, ensuring fresh and exciting gameplay every time. The book includes detailed descriptions of fictional places and non-player characters in Miami and beyond, including far-off locations like Colombia. Additionally, it offers an introductory adventure to get you started immediately. The 136-page A5 sized hardcover is hitting stores. Carries an MSRP of $22. You can score just the PDF right now over at DriveThruRPG for $12. I remember sharing news of this when this was on, I think it crowdfunded on GameFound, if I remember correctly. But I thought this looked kind of cool. And as somebody who grew up with like Scarface and Miami Vice, although I watched Miami Vice, but I was not like super into Miami Vice. My older brother was, and he did the, wore the Miami Vice kind of clothes and stuff. That I did not do. So Tessie Draghi says they had a former boss was nicknamed Peter Parker because of how many times he went to the hospital with white tip spider bites, causing his limbs to swell with sepsis. Oh, jeez. White tips are tiny spiders, smaller than 3 millimeters. Yikes. Robert Reynolds says, we can play and dress like Don. That's right. Dress like Don Johnson. Hey, I could do a guest stint as Glenn Fry or Phil Collins. I think that was the thing I remember most about Miami Vice was the music. Sean O'Donnell saying they're picturing my brother with blazer sleeves rolled up. Yes, no joke, no joke. That was back at a time when my brother was actually in a band. Not saying it was a popular band or anything like that. I mean, they did play some places, but yes, he was in a band. Kathy Evans is with us in chat. Welcome back, Kathy. Good to see you. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling here because Bundle of Holding has rolled out a new old deal. Maybe I could say it's an old new deal. No, it would be a new old deal. On Classic Traveler, I've got the deets on the deal. Traveler. Bundle of Holding has revived their November 2021 Classic Traveler Imperium Tour, featuring tabletop role-playing PDFs, which take you on a grand journey across the sprawling galactic empire of Traveler, the original science fiction role-playing game. I do not believe that is true. Isn't Metamorphosis Alpha the first science fiction role-playing game? I don't know. I thought that's the case. I could be wrong. Yeah, I might be misremembering. I don't know. In the 1980s, Game Designers Workshop brought forth a, stellar array of rulebooks and supplements that tour the 11,000 worlds and the 1,100-year history of the Third Imperium. This huge new offer gives you rules, settings, and scenarios, everything you need for your own high passage through this much-loved space opera setting. For just $12.95, you'll get all 11 titles in this revived offer's starter collection, which has a retail value of $57, has DRM-free PDFs, including the Classic Traveler Facsimile Edition of the 1981 rulebook, the Traveler book with the charted space map and the Traveler Adventure, 6 sets of Starship deck plans, Supplement S12 forms and charts. Ooh, that's exciting. As well as the Classic Traveler Orientation Pack. And if you pay more than the current threshold price of $31.11, you'll level up and also get this Revival's entire bonus collection with 13 more titles worth an additional $150, including all 8 Alien modules and all 5 M-Series modules. Tarsus, Beltstrike, the Spinward Marshes Campaign, Atlas of the Imperium, and Alien Realms. These savings are going to run through May 13th. And I should also mention, there are quite a few Traveler offers over at Bundle of Holding right now. There is an offer to pick up the I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the History of Traveler. Shannon Appelkline wrote it. I think it's something like Free Trader Beowulf, because that's from the original cover. Mayday, Mayday! This is Free Trader Beowulf! I think that's the title of it. So, but that's only one. But because tomorrow, to my understanding, is Traveler Day, May 1st celebrates Traveler, they're going to have 7 offers on Bundle of Holding, and they're going to feature different points in the history of Traveler. So, of course, this is the first edition of Traveler that is in this classic Imperium tour. I'm also going to take a wild guess that it's possible that we will see a humble bundle for Mongoose Traveler to celebrate Traveler Day. I took a look earlier today. There was nothing new. Well, actually, there was no role-playing game deal on Humble Bundle, but I'm kind of curious. But still, if you're interested in classic Traveler, which is honestly just as viable to play today as it was when it first came out, this is a perfect way to jump on board. Chris Lundgren is with us, as well as his cockatiel buddy, and Love Fist is joining us once again. Good to have you back. On to our next news piece. Currently up for crowdfunding for Pandian Games is Midnight Muscadines. I think that's how it's pronounced. Regardless, I've got the lowdown. Midnight Muscadines balances grand adventure and drama with a cozy setting imbued with nostalgia for warm summer days and crisp fall evenings. Ooh, is that Ray Bradbury I hear calling? Whenever I think of nostalgic warm summer days, I always think Ray Bradbury. The world is filled with interesting people, places, and creatures that may happily aid you or voraciously defend themselves. Play as marmoteers, jam makers, adventurers, and explorers with backgrounds as diverse as beekeeping and cartography. Attend festivals, solve mysteries and gossip, and then strike back out into the unknown of the wildernite. After all, your most important task is to gather and preserve the world's last source of magic, Midnight Muscadines. Included in this book are dedicated solo rules and an extensive solo toolkit to run your adventures. Over 180 pages filled to the brim with whimsical fantasy and dashing adventure. A dynamic and imaginative magic and item system. A unique adversary and challenge system, seamlessly blending fists, words, and action. An expansive setting guide for Nim, the Wildernite, the gods, and great spirits. A collection of 52 wondrous ingredients to discover and use in magical jams. A compendium of 52 creatures and folk containing stat blocks, abilities, and descriptions, as well as a collection of 2 starter adventures, 5 mysteries, and 5 festivals to quickly jump into the game. There's even adventure hooks, rolling tables, and lore around every corner to inspire one-shots and campaigns. This backer kit is fully funded. You can reserve a copy of the A5 Landscape softcover with PDF for a $40 pledge. You can reserve just the PDF for a $20 pledge through May 15th. Expected delivery on the PDF is the 3rd quarter, with physical books hopefully arriving by the end of the year. Gotta say, this sounds unique. I thought this sounded kind of interesting, and I know we're always looking for things that are off the beaten path, and this certainly looks like one of them. A kind of dark, cozy game? Okay, all right. Color me intrigued. Let's see, GameCat is with us in chat. Welcome. Saying hi-ho. Chris Lundgren says, info dump. They found this is a free open source Dungeons & Dragons alternative. It's Creative Commons free PDF. It's free 5e. I don't know anything about that. I do know that the SRD for new Dungeons and Dragons came out. I think it was last week. I think they released that last week. So the SRD is available for D&D 5.5. Yes, I know it's D&D 2024, but I can't help myself. Got to call it 5.5. All right, let's move on to our final news piece, because now in print and PDF for Castles and Crusades is the Adventurer's Armory. And here's the latest from Trollord Games. The sounds of battle, the ringing of sword on sword, the crack of an axe as it thuds into wood and iron, the whistling arrow as it flies from the bent bow, the dull clattering of hammer on helm, and the crumpled rage of iron beaten by blade and hammer. This is the music of battle, and the instruments of this symphony of death and destruction. The maces, swords, shields, helms, spears, bows are the armory of every warrior. This is the Adventurer's Armory. The Adventurer's Armory contains descriptions of and stats for hundreds of weapons: clubs, maces, flails, knives, daggers, axes, swords, spears, polearms. What was that, Gary Gygax? Yes, polearms. Propelled weapons, bows, crossbows, and siege weapons. Alongside these are the armor, shields, and helms used in battle throughout the ages. Every entry has its own illustration and includes a brief description of the weapon or armor, its intended purpose and use, and statistics for role-playing it. Additionally, optional rules for use of these weapons are included, as well as a brief overview of how to create one's own weapons and tables for quick and easy reference to the many hundreds of weapons and armors now at hand. This 320-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $44.99. If you want to grab just the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Sweet. Very cool. As I mentioned yesterday, we were talking about the Monstrous Armory. We also have the Adventurer's Armory. This is far, far larger than the Monstrous Armory. I think the Monstrous Armory was about 170 pages. They're in that ballpark. So there you've got it. Chris Lundgren says that's a Kickstarter. Think Osric, but 5e. That's kind of strange. I don't know. I don't know if that would be I got to be honest. I don't know if that'd be a Kickstarter I would support. I mean, it's just 5e. There are so many free 5e options out there, 5e adjacent options. I don't know if I would be looking at kickstarting an open source Dungeons and Dragons alternative, which is just built on 5e. I'm just a saying. Robert Reynolds says they just downloaded the 3 books the other day. I'm not sure if Robert is referring to this free 5e or what. So Robert Reynolds says it's 5e, no art, is all they think. I don't know. Hey, like I said, I'm not necessarily knocking the fact that it exists. I'm saying I don't know if that's something that I would go and, invest in a Kickstarter for. In fact, I got to be honest, right now, supporting any Kickstarter is tricky. Supporting any crowdfunding is tricky because there are so many of them right now that had funded that are just, they have slammed on the brakes as far as releasing them, at least in the US. Others are kind of up in the air. We've had companies close their doors now. We had one company, gosh, I can't remember the damn company's name off the top of my head because it wasn't a company that I was familiar with. But they had 3 Kickstarters that were funded. They were supposed to be coming out some point in the not too distant future. And the company is folded up and said, yeah, sorry. We don't have the funds now, and now we have to pay 3 times what we originally thought. I'm like, I don't know. So it's one thing to have stuff just tied up, and publishers sitting there saying, hey, we're going to wait to see what happens with this tariff stuff before we actually bring it out over on the slow boat from China. And then you also have companies going, yeah, we're closing our doors. Oh, the $1 million we raised with our 3 Kickstarters, it's gone. Sorry, everybody. Bye, see ya. Nah, not digging that. All right, so that is the news for tonight. Of course, I've been talking about DriveThruRPG. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit DriveThruRPG, or Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, even DriveThru Comics, DriveThru Fiction, isn't that it? DriveThru Fiction? I don't think I've mentioned it before, but I'm pretty sure it's DriveThru Fiction. Any of those websites. Stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banner ads. If you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that. And it goes a long, long way to keeping thegaminggang.com around. Also, if you like this video, if you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find thegaminggang.com to be I shouldn't say .com, just Gaming Gang, period, to be a valuable resource. Hell, if you just like what we do have a Patreon. And yes, you can support us at 4 different tier levels. And of course, we have got some fine folks supporting us at the $10 or higher level of support. And I am talking about the Madman, Tessie Trekkie, Dan Webb, Tier 2 DM, and GameCat. GameCat's with us in chat, as is Tessie Trekkie. I think the Madman said they were popping on in tonight, but they would be late. I think they're probably running some games. So there we've got that. Kevin R. Smith is with us. Good to see you, Kevin. All right. So anyway, check out our Patreon if you would like to support the Gaming Gang. I try to tell folks, please don't do super chats because YouTube takes half of the super chats. And I know there are folks out there who think, oh, well, the super chats, they help with the engagement and stuff like that. I wouldn't really concern myself with that because it don't matter as far as YouTube goes, right? I'll give you a great example. I shared my review of the Old Margrave from Cobalt Press, and I pulled in about like 700, 725 viewers in the first day, which is fine. I mean, that's all right. I was expecting about that number. And then after that first day, those numbers just went whoop, off a cliff. I was like, wow. And obviously it was the fact that YouTube didn't put it in front of anybody anymore, because it was actually pulling in a really nice percentage as far as YouTube goes with the impressions. I think it was running at about 4.5%, which is shocking. Which the funny thing is, as far as the click rate or whatever, videos are actually halfway decent. It's just we don't get a ton of impressions. That's kind of our problem, but it's like, yeah. Chris Leonard points out that I was great on the other channel the other day. It was fun watching. Funny enough, yesterday I was talking about how bad it was. I was like, wow, I was not good. And if you were watching, I know Kevin R. Smith was hanging out there too. It was just a really slow, kind of meandering sort of stream. I mean, in my opinion. in my opinion. But as I had already pointed out, I would not have had 6 people on the stream at the same time. Keldon's with us. Winona's Cave is also joining us tonight, as also Keldon I see popping on in. All right, so we are going to dive in. We are going to take a look at Cults of RuneQuest, Gods of Fire and Sky, in just a few moments. I did want to mention, I am kind of kicking around maybe running a couple of campaigns on Foundry. We've talked about this before, and I'm considering maybe doing one Castles and Crusades and maybe another Swords and Wizardry. Reason why I don't say anything about, like, say, Tales of Argosa, which is really cool, is I don't think it's on any VTT yet. So anyway, so I was kicking that around, maybe have 4 or 5 people in each, and $20 a head per session. And a minimum of 4 hours for each session. Probably do them each once a month. So there's that. So some discussion of printers. And you know what? Funny enough, I have heard of some companies utilizing high school yearbook printers. Funny enough, high school I went to, Lane Tech in Chicago, we printed our own. I actually had print shop for 2 years. So I thought that was kind of cool. Walona's Cave says, how long are your intros? Less than 30 seconds. Yes. Videos have to pass the 30-second mark to be pushed more by the algorithm. Actually, our stats, our analytics, there you go. I was like, what's the word? What's the void? Are good for like the first few minutes. So, I mean, better than the average YouTube channel. I will say that much from what I understand. Kevin R. Smith says, also learned you can't mention Ed Greenwood on the Page channel. Well, maybe you can mention Ed. You just can't mention Ed's role-playing convention angle. Yeah. Chris Lundgren also bought the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition starter set. Yeah, I always recommend that. Always recommend it. Anyway, so I wanted to float that out there. So if you are interested in maybe being part of one of those campaigns, let me know. The Swords and Wizardry would probably be a little more gonzo. And I would think the Castles and Crusades, I might look more towards adapting old D&D stuff, AD&D stuff for as far as that goes. But the Swords and Wizardry I would not be porting over. Now, I'm not saying that I wouldn't run some published material. I'm not saying that at all, because that would be the case with either one of them. But something to keep in mind. If you're interested, let me know. The Madman is with us. So our other chat moderator has popped on in. Pete Dracula asks, Ed plays Blood in the Chocolate? From my understanding, Blood in the Chocolate would be tame compared to some of the sexy sex that goes on at convention games run by Ed Greenwood. Once again, I've just been told these things. I've heard these things from many, many people. I'm not saying anything bad about Ed Greenwood. I'm just pointing this out. I made that comment, and one of the organizers, the main organizer for Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo, I should say, was kind of freaking out because I had mentioned it. And I was like, hey, sorry, man, you bring me on the show. What do you expect? I'm not one of these, oh, yeah, kind of people, right? So, all righty. So tonight we are going to dive on in. We are going to take a look at the latest of the Cults of RuneQuest releases from our friends over at Chaosium Inc. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out for a delicious snack in our sparkling refreshment building. Every item a fresh, appetizing taste treat.
You'll never catch me squeezing, Charmin.
Mrs. Mooney, Charmin bathroom tissue so squeezably soft.
It's irresistible. I don't believe it.
Squeeze for yourself.
It is soft. Deep down soft. It's irresistible.
Soft fragrance, too.
Ladies, please don't squeeze the Charmin. There's a Charmin squeezer inside all of us, isn't there, Mrs. Mooney?
There certainly is, Mr. Whipple.
Here's Milky, the marvelous milking cow. It's fun to milk her, gonna do it right now. She drinks the water when we pump her tail. She's raising her head, it's milking time now. Her pretend milk is a feeling the pail.
She drinks water and gives pretend milk.
Milky, the marvelous milking cow. Milky, the marvelous milking cow with pretend milk tablets. She's new from Kenner.
Give me some Party Line coffee. How about some Wilkins, comrade? That's capitalist coffee, you traitor. Send 2 pounds to the back door.
And immortal was the strength of Hercules. Savage and sensual was the world of Hercules. Lavishly produced amid pagan palaces on Mediterranean shores, where Hercules lived, loved, and awed his fellow men. Here is fascinating drama, epic in scope, of palace intrigue and murder, of deeds reckless and heroic. The great curse and labors laid upon Hercules.
May the curse of the gods be upon you. May the hatred of men persecute you until you have paid for the blood of Ephesus.
A love so great it defied the gods. Hercules, a legend undimmed in thousands of years, all here to bring you thrill upon thrill. The voyage to distant lands, the attack of the monkey men, the dragon monster guarding the golden fleet, the love-starved warrior women on the island of Amazons, who knew so well how to entice and tease and kiss before they kill. The vengeance of the sea god. The battle for the crown of Joso.
I gotta say, for a movie from 1958, that is one really sharp-looking trailer. A lot of times, Yeah, movies from the 80s, their trailers look like trash. I'm not talking about the content of it. I'm saying just how sharp and clear that was. Very nice, very nice. I thought I would float out something that's kind of a sword and sandals, right? Because that's how RuneQuest is. I thought I'd track something down for that. Real quick, I saw that Chris Lundgren said, as far as Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the next thing is just getting their players to play. Tell you what, I don't put up with that nonsense. If you're the game master and your group wants to play, they're going to play what you want to run. You have the power. They don't have the power. So I'll tell you what, you can walk out that door and you can find another group of people or you want to have a game master because they don't have one. So don't let the players pull that nonsense on you. Oh, we only play 5e. Not how things work. Some comments about Mr. Whipple. Obviously a voyeur. I wouldn't be surprised if the character was killed, hiding in someone's closet watching. Chris Lunger says, Hercules and the orgy. No, that was just the Hercules, the original Hercules, which kind of made Steve Reeves a star. If I remember correctly, I wasn't around then. I think I've only seen that movie once in my life. But still, Kevin Hart Smith says proper response, then run 5e yourself. Yes. All right, so tonight we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a first look at Cults of RuneQuest, Gods of Fire and Sky from Chaosium Inc. Whoa, wait a second. Why are we getting that? That is not right. Damn. Ugh. And I know I made the slide for that. I'm going to have to screw around with this drive again. Anywho, we're going to take a look at Cults of RuneQuest, the Gods of Fire and Sky from my friends over at Chaosium Inc. It's written by Greg Stafford and Jeff Richard. The 148-page hardcover with PDF is available now. It carries an MSRP of $39.99. If you want to grab just the PDF alone, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. I'm going to get this shrink wrap off here. Thought I just cut through it with the hobby knife. Guess not. Guess it wasn't doing enough. There we go. We're going to take a look at the back real quick. I'm not going to read everything from the back. All hail Yelm the One. Thou hast risen again to bless us with thine power. Cults of RuneQuest, the Gods of Fire and Sky is the player's guide to the deities of the high heavens and the flames beneath the earth. Each cult of the solar pantheon provides new visions of Glorantha and provides mechanics for creating your RuneQuest adventurer. The supplement can be used with the RuneQuest core rules or combined with other Cults of RuneQuest books to create a RuneQuest adventure belonging to multiple cults. Agile Monk is with us in chat. Welcome. Good to see you once again. So before we jump on in, a few things I want to mention. First of all, my friends over at Chaosium Inc. were kind enough to provide me with this review copy. But neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the gaming gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this coverage with you. It's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book. We do want to give you a good feel for what you're going to find inside. Then lastly, RuneQuest is a swords and sandals, Bronze Age sort of role-playing game with some real ties to kind of like prehistory. And what I mean by that is it's not historical, but it does really kind of draw from the prehistories of the human race, essentially. So, saying that, there is a lot of focus with the deities on fertility. We may see some topless artwork. Well, we may see artwork that displays genitalia as well. I don't know. I'm just letting you know up front that is a possibility. In fact, I'd say it's probably a very likely possibility here. Okay, first thing, let's take a look at the credits page. Lots of folks work very hard to bring this to life. I gave a shout out when I was reviewing the Glorantha source book for Jeff Richard, because I'll tell you what, a lot of this material was written by Greg Stafford that's been released over the past few years. And of course, Greg Stafford passed away back, what was it? Gosh, was it like 2018? Has it been that long ago? Maybe. Jeff Richard has just done some phenomenal work with RuneQuest. It really hasn't skipped a beat. So kudos to Jeff Richard. All right, so we're going to take a look at the introduction. What is in this book? This book is one in a series of books that gives a detailed overview of Gloranthan mythology and religion for RuneQuest. It describes 13 different Gloranthan cults and deities for the RuneQuest role-playing game. Myths, history, organization, associate cults, and rules-oriented information are given for each cult. Sufficient information is provided for players or game masters to use all these cults. It also contains an encyclopedia of Gloranthan celestial lore. So as far as cults go, they are pantheons. So we have these different pantheons, and of course, then we have these various different deities, like we would see with Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse mythology. And then it's just with the Gloranthan deities instead. Kevin R. Smith says it was before 2018. So he says 2016 or before. Agile Monk says October 10th, 2018. I thought it was 2018. Chris Lundgren says, compared RuneQuest starter set versus Warhammer Fantasy starter set, which system is easier to play out of the box? If we're talking about just systems to run, it's RuneQuest, because RuneQuest is basic role-playing. I mean, RuneQuest is what created the basic role-playing system. But, so Kevin R. Smith says their memory's gone to hell the last few years. You and me both, brother. You and me both. As far as RuneQuest goes, what throws people off is this kind of stuff. The various different pantheons, the history of Glorantha, because Greg Stafford was working on this for over 50 years when he passed. So there is loads and loads of background and backstory and history to Glorantha. And I've mentioned this with other role-playing games. Sadly enough, and I actually have mentioned this with RuneQuest too, players and game masters will get into this mindset where they need to know everything about a game. Oh, I need to know all the backstory. I need to know all the lore. No, you don't. If you approach RuneQuest like that, you are never going to get started running or playing RuneQuest, because there is so much out there. So I always tell people, start small. So as an example, this is the third of the Cults of RuneQuest books that have information about the various different pantheons and the cults and so forth. There are some other Cults of RuneQuest releases that are more in the area of like encyclopedias. But you don't need to have all of them. If you just kind of find that, well, the fire and sky pantheons kind of fit what you're aiming for, just use those. There are the Earth Mothers. We've got the, oh gosh, now I can't remember. The Lightbringers. It took me a second. I was like, wait a second. What? And, you know, you can use all of these together, but you don't have to. You don't have to use any of these. There's enough information in the starter set box, as well as being in the core rule book. Because what I recommend, I'm not even sure if Chaosium still has it, but there was a 2-volume slipcase set. I would certainly recommend, if you can still pick that up with the most recent edition, the current edition, I would, because everything you need is in that. All right, so we're just taking a flip through here, taking a peek. So first thing I'm going to mention here, production quality. I got to say, the paper stock feels heavier. Feels a little bit heavier than we've seen in other RuneQuest books. So that's nice. That's cool. We always see excellent production quality from Chaosium Inc. There's, you know, no doubt of that, especially with RuneQuest, because Call of Cthulhu and RuneQuest are their two Cadillac game systems. So back to what would be easier for you to jump in and start running. Reality is, RuneQuest is an easier system to kind of wrap your head around as far as the game mechanics. But you got to take a look at the actual setting. This is, like I said before, this is swords and sandals. This is a fantastic role-playing game. Do not for one moment think that I'm not trying to tell you that RuneQuest is excellent. I have shared a why you should play video about RuneQuest. It's an older video. The video quality is not great, but it still has like over 20,000 views on it because RuneQuest is that good. But it's not for everybody. It is a game that the combat is lethal. It is a game where you don't want to have your player characters engaged in combat all the time either. And it doesn't matter how experienced your character is. They can be decapitated with one shot, just like everybody else. So this is a sort of role-playing game where it's not like people talk about Call of Cthulhu, where it's, oh my God, it's just a, a bloodbath every adventure. No, but players have to be, oh, geez, I think we're going to jump past that. Hey, like I said, we were maybe going to see some genitalia. Gosh. But that's one of the things I've always liked about RuneQuest is that, the combat is gritty and it is very lethal. Warhammer combat, gritty, lethal. I don't think as lethal really as RuneQuest is. So just kind of, there's a little more fertility going on there. Okay, I'm gonna try to find us. There we go. All right. So here we have a deity that I don't have so far. I don't think I don't have to concern myself about the artwork and nudity. So this is Lacarnos, the wagon god. Lacarnos is the deity of wagons. By extension, he is also a god of commerce and trade. He is worshipped by caravaneers and traders in solar areas. So we do have the Solar Empire. Well, also keep in mind that with RuneQuest, these different pantheons overlap a little bit. So as an example, we've got this god of commerce. Well, we have other pantheons where they have gods and goddesses who would cover the same thing. So there is, just like any mythology, there is overlap. Walona's Cave says, Wifrip has the misconception of being really lethal. Yeah, I don't see it that way. Even though, I mean, you've got your critical hits, and your characters are relatively squishy to start off with. But yeah, I mean, I shouldn't say any game. There are many games where, early on, a character could get one-shotted. So, but yeah, I agree. Walona's Cave. I don't see Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay being that lethal compared to other role-playing games. If you compare it to 5e, yeah, of course. You got dungeon masters out there who whine and complain that, it's impossible to kill my players. No, it's not. Just kill them. Crying out loud. Quit being babies. If you need to, set a precedent, kill a character. I know some people out there are probably thinking, geez, Jeff, you're talking about fudging the dice rolls. Hell yes. I always thought it was nonsense. Game masters dungeon masters in particular, talking about, it's impossible to kill low-level characters in Dungeons and Dragons. No, it's not. But back to Wifrip versus RuneQuest. Both starter sets are fantastic. They are excellent starter sets. Some of the absolute best. If your group is more of a traditional, they play 5e, you might have an easier time convincing them to play Wifrip than you will RuneQuest. If you have a group of players who really want to experience a fantastic role-playing game setting, still fantasy, different kind of fantasy. Everybody's got access to magic in RuneQuest. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to be good at magic. Everyone does have access to it. So that is a big selling point. All right, so we have Urania, goddess of the sky and heavens. Urania is the pristine mistress of heaven, epitomizing the etheric energy of heavenly power, which she sends to the deserving. She's the model of the virgin worker, maintaining her holy religious devotion to a magical way of life. Servant of the unreachable Dezatar, she is capable and loyal to the higher powers of her command. So we're going to take a peek here, kind of give you an idea of what you're going to find with each of the 13 cults. Now, as far as the Cults of RuneQuest books go, some cults have more followers than others. Some cults will have far more information devoted to them. So not every single cult is going to break down like this. So we're going to get the mythos and history before time and since time began, the nature of the cult, so reason for continued existence, social, political position and power, the cult in the world, the organization of it, lay members, initiate members will have some specific spells that are going to be attached or related to the pantheon, to that deity. Normally we'll see that with just about all of them. And here we've got 4. That's about right. Keep in mind, there's different kinds of magic in RuneQuest. We have spirit magic. We also have rune magic. So we've got some subservient cults, associated cults, some miscellaneous notes. Sometimes we'll get some stat blocks for various different practitioners, or maybe even creatures or monsters that are associated as well. So just kind of give you an idea. Stray Kismet's with us. Welcome again. So Kevin R. Smith says, the RuneQuest starter set doesn't have character creation rules, so you want to use non-pregens, you have to buy the core rule book. Yes. If I remember correctly, I don't think the Wifrip starter set has character creation rules either. It's been a long, long time since I took a peek. Because if they do, then Cubicle 7 Games has moved away from doing that, because I know their starter sets of late do not have character creation rules. I'm almost positive it doesn't, to be honest. Yep, Chris Lundgren's pointing out the starter set only has pre-gens. You will find a lot of adventuring in both those starter sets. So both those starter sets are aimed at giving you multiple sessions of gaming. None of this, well, okay, here's an introductory adventure that maybe you'll get 2-3 hours at the table out of. No, absolutely not. Both of them absolutely packed with a few weeks. To be honest with you, you're going to get quite a few sessions of play out of both those starter sets. It's a real toss-up between the two, I got to be honest. And I really love both of the role-playing games, both RuneQuest and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Both companies are excellent. Chaosium Inc. they had some bumps in the road years ago, but no problems for about, 8-9 years by now. So very cool. All right, so here's another Polaris, the Pole Star, Keeper of the Stars, General of Heaven. Something else you'll notice with RuneQuest, artwork is always excellent. Just fantastic artwork throughout. That's pretty wild. Looks like they're performing some sort of a ritual. Nice. Chris Leonard also points out Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and RuneQuest, their starter sets were really cheap for what you get. Yes, fantastic value. Fantastic value. You get multiple books with both of them. The Ubersreich book, the Guide to Ubersreich, is that the title to it? I know it's the Ubersreich book, is worth the price of admission alone for Wifrip for that starter set. Really, really is. And the adventure that comes with it, very nicely done. And it's not just one adventure either, but that starting adventure to kind of introduce the game master and the players to the rule system. Very nicely done. Same thing with RuneQuest. And the starter set's got a solo adventure too. That's something else that Chaosium Inc. likes to do, is have a solitary adventure to introduce players and game masters to the core mechanics of the game. Funny enough, we're taking a look at Cults of RuneQuest. We're talking more about the starter sets for it. All right, so I'm actually using this artwork as the thumbnail for this video. I like this artwork quite a bit. I am going to try to get my review of Gods of Fire and Sky out this weekend, because this is already out. Normally with Chaosium Inc., I get their books ahead of, them arriving in stores. That hasn't been the case with this and the Game Master's Guide for Pendragon. In fact, I just reached out to one of my contacts at Chaosium Inc., and I think the Game Master's Handbook for Pendragon shipped out today. So we should be able to take a peek at that next week. So we've got the Dragon Rise. So talking about the various different planets there. So we've got some celestial information. And then we'll get into our index, and that will pretty much wrap up our look inside Cults of RuneQuest, Gods of Fire and Sky from Chaosium Inc. Once again, this is out in stores now. It carries an MSRP of $39.99. You can get the PDF with that if you order from Chaosium Inc. or one of its brick and mortar or bits and mortar partners. I got to be honest, I don't know who they are. So you may want to order directly from Chaosium Inc. to make sure you get that PDF. And you get the PDF when you place the order. You don't have to wait to receive the book. Of course, also keep in mind, the PDF is available right now over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. Chris Langner says, the book looks really cool, but the cults is a bit overwhelming. I think I'll start slowly. You have to. You have to start slowly. So when we're taking a look at books like this for RuneQuest, these books are designed for people who play and run RuneQuest. This isn't designed for somebody who just picked up the starter set box. Put this on hold. Put it on your list of books to buy. But like any role-playing game, that's one of the things that I find unusual, that I certainly would not do, is go and purchase everything for a role-playing game that I could get my hands on without having run that role-playing game a bit, because there are so many things that can go wrong. And we've had people in chat talk about how, oh yeah, I've gone and I bought everything for X and I'm getting ready to run it. Or I bought everything for ABC. I'm getting ready to run it for my group. Well, for one, what if your group doesn't like it? And yes, I know, I pointed out earlier, you tell your group, hey, I'm the game master. I'm here to run something. You're here to play. I don't want to hear the, oh, I'm only playing this game nonsense. But if they give a game a try and they play it for, 2, 3, 4 sessions and they're just not enjoying it. And you can tell when people aren't having a good time at your game table, especially if you've been running games for a while. Even when they like try to pretend, oh yeah, that was fun, I had a good time. Bullshit, you did not. I could tell you didn't. I saw your eyes glazing over. But if you buy all this stuff for a game or a huge amount of stuff for a role-playing game, and then your group doesn't like it, well, then you're stuck with it, or you're trying to offload it onto somebody else, which is just going to be a major pain in your ass. That's why I always really push for people to check out starter sets if they are available for that game. And there are quite a lot of games out there that have starter sets. Some sets are far better than others, and there are many that I've never had an opportunity to actually have a peek at. But still, there's far, far less investment with just picking up a starter set and going from there. And if your players are like, wow, I'm having a really good time. Okay, well, now I'm going to look to see what would maybe be an adventure book that's, next in line. And what would be maybe a companion book. So like, as an example, talking about like Tales of the Valiant or Castles and Crusades. Both of those Game Master books are optional books. You don't need to have them to run those games. But if my group is having a really good time, then I'd be like, oh, yeah, you know what? I think maybe I'll pick that up to kind of expand on things. Or if you get a starter set that doesn't give you character creation rules, obviously you want to go pick up the core rules. I know a lot of folks out there, they create their own adventures, so maybe you don't want or need to pick up published adventures. Myself personally, I break down published adventures and put them back together. I don't think I've mentioned this before. I don't think I've ever run a published adventure as written, but I'm just not a create an adventure from scratch sort of guy. I never have. It's probably because I just don't have the time to devote towards that. Also mention a Bundle of Holding Humble Bundle. Of course, yes, if you can get a fantastic deal, which we see especially with Humble Bundle. And there have been RuneQuest Humble Bundles. There have been Chaosium Inc. Humble Bundles in the past. Situation like that, and if you like PDFs or don't have an issue with PDFs like some folks do, yeah, by all means, then pick up, everything you can, because you're going to spend less or maybe the same amount as just the core rule book and get thousands of pages of content. So, of course, you've got that. Chris Lundgren says, I miss the idea of classic red box D&D starter sets. They did have character creation, yet a neat intro into adventure. Didn't the 5e starter boxes also give you like the first 3 levels? Kevin R. Smith also points out Pathfinder's beginner box has character generation for humans, elves, and dwarves, as well as the 4 basic classes. Yeah, the Pathfinder 2nd edition starter box, beginner box, is really good. It is excellent. It really, really is. Michael Hislop is with us, pointing out the culture of Glorantha is why you do RuneQuest. Game system is okay. The world is awesome. Game system's fine. I would say I like the game system better than okay. Just myself personally, keeping in mind, I have spent decades running Call of Cthulhu, so the percentile system kind of comes naturally to me, so there is that. All righty then. So that is it for tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to dive on in and we're going to be taking a first look at Outgunned. Yes. From Two Little Mice and Free League Publishing. So we're going to peek at the core book as well as World of Killers. Free League Publishing did reach out offering review copies of the Adventure volume, which I am very interested in checking out. So I did put in a request for that. I'm really looking forward to taking a peek at this because I've heard really good things about Outgunned. So we are going to take a look at that on tomorrow night's show. If you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watched live and took part in chat, tip of the cap to you. Because, of course, not only are you keeping me company, you're keeping each other company as I'm sharing the news and flipping through a book or opening a box or what have you. But, of course, I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you very much for taking time out to watch any of the over 2,100 videos here on the channel. Of course, when you're not watching videos here on the channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you will not find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Don't forget, if you would like to support the Gaming Gang, we do have a Patreon. That link is located in the show notes, as is an invite link to our Discord server. Yes, come and hang with the gang over on Discord. Yay. Everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. I will see you next month. And as always, I certainly hope every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. I forgot to hit that, huh? Well, there you go. Don't forget, ring the bell.